and blessings, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Asia, where our goal is to educate the women of our communities and the girls that they are raising. I am your host, Asia Nasir Shahid. This particular show has been a show that it's been a long time coming. Me and the president of the company have been talking for a very long time about this. And with everything that's been going on around the world, we felt that this was the best time to have this. With the recent news that's been happening, when we heard of the young woman, unfortunately, who was sexually assaulted on the SEPTA train, and people were there watching, videotaping, and unfortunately, no one there to help her. She did not have the skills, unfortunately, to be able to assist her in such a tragic situation. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we know that women, and even men, children, are subject to domestic violence and abuse, physical abuse, and do not have the skills, unfortunately, to be able to assist them in being able to get out of a bad situation. We see human trafficking is at an all-time high, and we see just crime is at a rate that we have never seen before. So this particular show is on self-defense and the necessity of it. And this particular company, Ronin Equinimity LLC, is our guest tonight because that is their specialty. So I would like to introduce each of the members of this particular company, and we'll start with the president of the company.
Assalamu alaikum and hello to everyone. My name is Zubair Abdul Shahid. I am the president and the founder of Ronin Equinimity. I have been involved in security, martial arts for better part of 30 years. I started this company in the late 2000s to try to offer an alternative to what we see is going on today in our society and our communities.
Hey, welcome to the show. I know, like, as I mentioned earlier, you and I have been talking about this for a really long time. So I'm really excited to have this conversation, especially in this timely, sensitive time that we're in right now. A lot of women are very afraid because of what recently happened in the state of Pennsylvania and just all around the world. So welcome, Brother Zubair.
Thank you.
And Brother Khalid?
Yes, I'm Khalid Newton. I am the director of training for Ronin Equinimity. And my background, I'm a retired police sergeant, and I've been in law enforcement for about 25 years, approximately. I've been in martial arts for over 50 years.
Wow.
I started training back in 1963 when I was 11, and I'm still training and teaching today. We have several aspects of Ronin Equinimity to facilitate and help the community in terms of what the things they're confronted with today, in terms of the way we train, our holistic approach to the defense aspect of training, from empty hand to specialty weapons to tactical gun handling, how to handle a gun, how to clear an area, how to produce it when necessary, and going into the house, coming out of the house when you're in your car. So there's a number of things or aspects that we try to address and make them particularly pertinent to our community, because things right now are very chaotic in the world we live in, and we try to provide answers that will address their concerns and their needs.
Hey, well, welcome to the show. I look forward to hearing more about the specific training that you do. And I think the audience, we have people signing on right now. So this is a great time to continue introducing the members. Now we will go to Brother Salim. If you could introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Salim Hussein Muhammad. I started training in martial arts in the mid 70s. So that would be the past 40 years of martial arts training. My specialty within the last 20 years has been edge weapons. And I like to introduce the theme of defending yourself in the world of edge weapons.
Well, I would like to hear more about what that edge weapons means, and what type of what does that entail. So I look forward to our conversation on that. So
okay.
Welcome to the show. And now we will go to Brother Bahir. If you could introduce yourself.
Alhamdulillah. Peace be unto you all, and God's blessings be upon you all. I'm Bahir Yusuf Muwakil, 30 years military, 29 years working in the operating room as a first assistant. Was a combat medic for the military, also a drill sergeant for the military. I teach combatives to the Army soldiers. I teach building clearing, extraction work. I've done plenty of diplomatic security work for different religious dignitaries and dignitaries from all over the world. And now I'm the tactical instructor here for Ronin Equinimity, trying to bring some more, I guess, realism into, I guess, what we consider to be practical and not practical. So when the people come to our training classes, they will get the basics and the ground aspects of everything, but we'll also put a little bit of more dynamic approach into it to make it more real, so that when it comes time, God forbid, has to come time, they can react and respond to what they learn.
Absolutely. Wow. I'm listening to just the experience all around the room. It's wonderful. Last but definitely not least, we have Brother Jamal. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Jamal Rashad Eel. I am a personal trainer of martial arts. I've been training since 1969. I have almost 50 years of martial arts experience. I'm a security specialist, also future recovery agent. Bringing something to Ronin Equinimity as martial arts self-defense instructor for self-protection, given a basic primary course, as well as an intermediate and advanced course of this basic organization. Thank you.
Wow. I'm listening to the years, and I mean, this is almost, it's not embarrassing, but I mean, some of you have been training and have been doing, martial arts and training before I was even born. So there is a vast amount of experience here. So I just want to jump right in. Explain to the audience that are listening on YouTube as well as on Facebook, what is Ronin Equinimity? I saw the logo, I hear the name, and it's a very unique name. What is Ronin Equinimity?
Ronin Equinimity is the combination of two ideas embodying the old world traditional martial arts philosophy, honor, respect, and bravery, and calm, especially in the world that we have today. We're looking at, we wanted to combine these with all these different brothers you see here, my colleagues who have all this expansive experience. It was our duty to come together to bring and to develop a program that would bring back safety and security to our communities as we need them. As you stated earlier, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of lawlessness in our community, and we, have been fortunate and blessed to train these many years in martial arts, in the world of police and protection and military. So to bring the company together, or one of the idea of bringing the company together was to develop an alternative for people to be able to develop themselves, to regain confidence, and to, like my colleague here, Brother Barr, has said, to develop a practical application of realistic incidents that may occur, and be prepared. And you're only going to do what you train to do. And this was the idea of the company, was to set up, like I said, an alternative so that we can provide that to the community at large, and also give other organizations the ability and the training to provide safety and security as it should be.
Yeah, I love it. That it brings me to my next question, which is, was there any, with everything that was happening with police brutality, we saw the rise in, police shootings. Just recently, you're headquartered in Philadelphia, and just recently they had on the news of the woman who was, as I mentioned in the onset of the show, was recently sexually assaulted on the train in public in front of everyone, and just wasn't in a position to be able to defend herself. Was there anything in particular, for any one of you can answer this, was there anything in particular that happened that made you say, look, we really want to take this on and bring this out to the community? Was there any particular incident?
Well, I can answer, then we can go to Brother Khalid for the first part of it. I mean, initially, before any of this happened, the impetus for this for me was all of the unrest that had been going on in our community prior to all these other things happening, right? With the riots in Washington, and all the different things that were going on here, due to the brutality and the racism and that kind of thing. And for me, it was hearing all the arguments from everyone, but not seeing anything being done, right? Mm-hmm. So we can always complain about what's happening to us, but we have the full power in order to change what is going on. I mean, we can't just sit around and just constantly see things and witness things and not do anything about it, and then expect someone to come save us. So at the beginning before all this other really, bad things happening in the recent past, before that, that was the catalyst for this, setting up and not allowing ourselves just to sit back and be victimized, but to do something about it. And we have that power and ability. Sheikh Khalid, please, can you fill something with that?
Well, I think you said it pretty clearly. It was the need of safety in the community. Right now it's at a very low level, and the reality of people are they're more fearful going out of their homes. People being robbed while going into their homes, as was reported in the news the other day. A young boy going home from work from McDonald's, got home, and he was targeted and shot 15 times, head, chest, and back. And his twin sister was able to escape, but they targeted him. So there's a danger factor that's existing in the community that's walking around like a savage lion, and it's just eating the community alive. So in order to really deter that type of, or this type of behavior that's happening now, there's going to have to be strength shown. There's going to have to be bravery shown amongst the community. And to stop such actions, the people that know what happened, they have to report it. They have to come out and take the chance of saying, yeah, I know who did this, or I have information to help facilitate that person's arrest, and move forward and think of the community in a whole, and not individual, my own personal interest. Our interest is everyone. We live together and we live in the city. It has to be everyone we're thinking of right now, not just personal interest and personal safety. Everyone's safety is in danger at any one time. So we have to come together as a community and address these matters, just as they address the brutality of police. People came out in droves about this. Now we have to do the same thing as far as community violence upon our own people. People need to come out in droves and address this and show that we're not going to take this. We have to do something positive to offset the negativity that's being displayed.
You bring up a really good point. You was talking about, this involves like everybody in the community, no matter what the age group. So I want to ask, in your particular training, and we'll get more specific as to what that training is, but in your particular training, again, any one of you can answer this. Is there a particular age group? Is it gender specific? Or is it really for everybody, as you just mentioned? Can children, can adults, women, men, even older people, can they take your courses and be able to benefit from the self-defense training?
Absolutely. The age limit just for capability, we start at 12 years old. Each child is different, and that's based off of what their parents really know about them and how they can pick up and whatever have you. But women, men, families, elderly, and we would even go as far as being able to facilitate people who may have disabilities and work within their disability. Because at the end of the day, everyone needs to have some type of protection, self-protection, and also a building of confidence, because the process here is not just physical. Our first focus is mindset development. So we all agree that the before you pick up a weapon, before you raise a hand, you have to be at the correct mindset. You have to have a clear mindset. You have to have confidence of self. You have to have self-awareness and an ability to visualize your surroundings. So that's the first thing we go through to help encourage and restore and rebuild people's confidence in themselves, teaching them what their limitations are so they can go past that if possible, reducing their fear factor, giving them the capability to be aware of what's going on, and focusing on the most important parcel, and that's God consciousness. So this is for anybody. You can be Muslim, you can be Jew, you can be Christian, doesn't matter. But we all have to have consciousness of God in order to maintain this structure of law and order that we need. And part of the reason why we're seeing is because people have lost consciousness of God.
Wow.
I just wanted to camel back on what Sabir was saying about the training. Eventually get into the breakdowns of the certain groups of people and how crimes come about. I'm a big component of children being abducted, and sometimes the children and the moms, a combination of in the malls, engaged in trying to buy something, and the kids trying to hide from you because they really don't want to be there. So it's a training purpose for both sides, for the kids and for the parents when they're in the malls, or just regular awareness. code words, not really code words, but we're in the malls and something happens or there's a stampede or loud noise, people start scattering. Your children need to know where to go or cling to you or where to go in the event things like these happen. These are one of the things we're going to institute for just regular families, just to know about your, like you said, the mindset and just your regular awareness. Where do we go in the event that something happens? No matter
Wow.
what.
So when you mentioned earlier that this was a holistic approach, Brother Khalid, you wanted to say something?
Just quickly, and in terms of that, our training method, and Brother Salim, Brother Jamal, I hear they all say the same thing. Our training method is simple techniques with high repetition. We want a person to have confidence in what they're doing, so they learn things that are very simple to do, simple to apply, easy to remember, but with the high repetitions, they gain the confidence to do it and do it quickly and effectively. So that's a very big part of any training, is the time that's spent on repetition. How often do you drill the technique over and over and over again? Important to do in the training. It's also important you have to carry it over to do at home.
Right. Our mantra is simple, direct, and effective. That's our mantra. Right? That's how we, our training is built. What it's built on.
And not only that, just looking at the guys that we have here, you have multiple systems, multiple skill sets. We challenge each other on the moves that we picked on what would be applicable for the community. I mean, we went at each other. I don't think this move is effective. I don't think that move is effective. And collectively created these moves from all these different, I don't want to say all these different systems, but different ideals and approaches on how to handle this and what would be the most effective out of us all. We criticize each other on our movements and our skill sets to make sure everything is done effectively.
Wow, this is amazing. And I love the fact that you were mentioning that the simple techniques is the way that you're looking to go. And I think that's so effective in this holistic approach that you're taking, even working with children. Children, you don't want something too difficult. If they're elderly, you don't want something too difficult. And you even mentioned working with those who are maybe disabled. A simple technique would be the most effective. And what would be most, what would be the best approach in dealing with a dangerous situation. So I love the approach. And the fact of the mindset, I think the mindset is so important because, children are bullied, and 9 times out of 10, the reason why they don't fight back is because they don't have the confidence to be able to stand up for themselves. Sometimes we freeze in fear because we don't, again, have the confidence or the skill set to be able to fight back. So I love the approach that is, you go there first, which is changing the mindset and then providing the tools that's necessary for them to be able to kind of align themselves with the mindset. Right. So I'm loving it. We're getting some comments here, so I'm going to read some of them to you in case you can't read it. Brother Ibrahim Sadiq said, greetings, congratulations to Ronin Equinimity on your endeavor. We have Sister Seisha Abdullah. She's from Ohio. She said, Assalamu alaikum. I appreciate you brothers tremendously. Simple techniques, high repetition. She said, that's what's up. So, and last we have another one, Brother Bay Mutadir. He says, Assalamu alaikum to everyone in the room. So people are definitely watching. So let's continue in this conversation. We have a lot of people in the room. So being that you're saying you're using simple techniques and this is a holistic approach and this is from young to older, I want to get into what exactly what is your particular I wouldn't say martial arts style, but maybe that is the question. You have karate, you have jujitsu, or different things. What is your particular style of training that you utilize within Ronin Equinimity?
Well, the first martial system we have is Okinawan Saito Goju-ryu, which is an Okinawan martial art. And Brother Khalid is the expert and the master's teacher of that. So I'll let him explain that particular process.
Ishikawa Saito Goju-ryu is the method of Goju-ryu that comes out of, is based on techniques and training that came out of southern China. So basically it's a haka system. It's enclosed fighting, short hand strikes, generating power from a short distance. And I guess if you want to do a ratio of hand techniques, the feet techniques is about a 70-30%. Hands, 30% feet. But as far as I'm concerned, I've been training Ishikawa Goju-ryu for a number of years. I've been with my teacher now almost 50 years. But also we train Tenshin or Tenshi Aikido Jiu-Jitsu, which is a throwing and grappling system. So we take particular principles from our traditional martial arts, and Brother Bahir and Brother Jamal do the same thing. We take principles that are universal. They transcend styles. Every style has these principles, and we bring them about in a simplistic way to teach people. One principle is controlling distance. And these are also strategies in fighting. You have to maintain a proper distance from the person's attacking you. If you can control the distance, then you can control the fight. But distance is something that people will forget about unless someone get too close to them. By they're either using their loud talk or trying to impose their will on them, they'll get too close. You have to maintain a distance that is very protective of you. If they step inside, well, I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble, but if they step inside personal space, they should be dropped already because they've already attacked you.
No, yeah, I like what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. It's personal space. That's what it means, personal space. So absolutely.
It means personal space. Don't come in closer. Stay back, give them a warning.
Exactly.
But if they persist, then you have to do what you have to do. So our method is more so something that's going to take from strong traditional bases, things that have worked in the field of fighting, things that aren't flowery, things that aren't tournament. These are things that come from the street. And we're taking them and trying to give them simplicity and directness so that people who have no martial art background, be they old, young, male, female, weak, strong, big, little, they can all do these techniques properly and effectively without the fear of it's going to backfire on me or this will work. That's why, as Brother Bahir was saying, we test it and we come to agreement. Yeah, this is good. Now this is bad. Throw it out. And why is it bad? Why is one thing effective? Why is another one not effective? And then we try to build from there. And I'll just shut up now and let one of the other gentlemen take it from here.
I was gonna go to Brother Salim right now but you mentioned something about edge training. I'm interested in knowing what is edge training, and I'm sure that those in the audience like what is edge training.
Assalamu alaikum. So if I could just step back for a moment to put it in a historical context, many of the people that you see here in this company have been training through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. And in each decade, you've seen a steady rise or evolution in violence. You have more immigrant groups that are coming into the country, and they bring their culture. And some of those cultures include ablated cultures. And in what we do, and as we have observed, that through the centuries, the evolution of violence in this country is now escalated to where as in the 60s, you didn't hear about women getting murdered in the way that you see it now. And things changed a little bit in the 70s. Now, today, I mean, it was almost like a code of conduct, but you don't even see that anymore. So women, children are being abducted. So the need for what we do now is even more based on statistics and reality. So, and what you have in terms of edge weapons, I'm talking about knives, bladed weapons, swords, machetes, and it could be blunt weapons also. So just weapons in general, but edge weapons in particular is where I've concentrated my study. So in the environment that we exist in today, people use weapons to intimidate you. If a person didn't have a weapon, or their bodies could be used as a weapon. A larger man, a smaller woman, his body becomes a weapon to intimidate. So we assume in what we call street psychology that you always expect a weapon. That weapon could be a knife, or it could actually be a gun, a firearm, or a projectile. And that's the first rule. The other rule out in the streets is that first is they're always armed. So you expect a weapon. The second concept is there's always more than one. Because today people run in what they call packs.
Right.
and this is where the things that we teach in terms of awareness and knowing your environment, environmental awareness comes in. And so the weapon, so we always expect that, and we start from there, whether it's a folder or a machete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Brother Salim, is the edge training to teach them how to defend themselves with a weapon, or how to disarm someone who has a weapon, or is it both?
Right, you're going to get all of that, because we have now my background. I first started in Chinatown in the mid 70s, but within the last 20 years, I've been studying a martial art based in the Philippines, and it's a weapons-based martial art. So instead of starting off with empty hands, you actually start your first class with a weapon, because they had there's a saying that in order to learn, in order to be able to defend against the knife, you need to know how to use one.
Right,
and so you learn defense by learning offense also, because you may encounter an encounter with an edge weapon, and you may be empty hand. So the same movements that we actually learn with a weapon are the same movements that we learn that we do empty hand. And it's also an energy-based system, meaning that the training methodology is intimate in that there's sensitivity and flow type drills, so that you can feel comfortable after a time moving from situation to situation without having to change your mindset. Mm-hmm. So this is important in the training methodology of edge weapons. So you start with so when you get to that point, you're able to defend and if
to disarm.
Go on the offensive, because sometimes they say, like in basketball or boxing or whatever, that sometimes a good offense is the best defense.
Right. Wow. So I just want to reiterate, because we were just talking and you were saying earlier that this is children, elderly, it doesn't matter. So even in the edge training, edge weapons training, this is even for children and elderly. They can participate in this class as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Okay,
because
great.
Now with the methodology that we use, maybe with children, you could start empty hand, but the same movements will be applied with the weapon also. Mm-hmm. So you're not learning a different set of movement patterns. You're learning the same movement patterns. However, now you have some type of implement, a weapon, a stick, or what have you.
Wow, this is amazing. Is there any other? So we've learned about the Okinawan style, the edge weapons training. Is there any other type of training that you do within Ronin Equinimity that we haven't discussed up until this point? And if we could just run it, just for time's sake, just run down what the different styles are.
So history in American boxing, fought amateur and pro, then got into ninjutsu, it's Japanese art, Japanese jiu-jitsu, and some shoryu kempo. Also got into the blade art, as you're saying, the purpose of it. I was always confident in defending myself against a regular person with a knife, but I wanted to learn from somebody else who had skills. And that's how Salim and I got linked up, and I just had him attack me with his skill set, and saw that for the average person, yeah, but if I came across someone that went rogue like himself, I didn't have the skill set. So I wound up learning that skill set. So just adding more into the repertoire just to make things better.
This is
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Also, too, I teach firearm instructions. As a drill sergeant, I had to teach the soldiers how to go and clear rooms, extract people of interest out of rooms. Combatives instructor for the military. I've trained different diplomatic security that watch people from across the world, like Secretary of State.
So is this what you teach at Ronin Equinimity, for people to,
This is
what you're
background. It's a background, yeah. So they're going to let me give me a little freedom, as to say, like in Jet Li when they took the leash off his neck. I'm a realist, because we believe that when we teach you moves, the moves have to be effective. The worst thing for a person to do is to spend money for a course even if it's regular education, English, and you're learning a language and you're not proficient when it comes time to take the test. We're going to show you these moves to make sure that you're proficient so that you're not in that, sugar honey iced tea land when the move didn't work and like, oh my God, that stuff that Bahir taught me didn't work and I still got beat up or I still got maimed or whatever because the move wasn't effective. We're going to make sure that the move is effective. We're going to make sure you go gradually engaging with your comrades, and then also get a chance to play around with me a little bit to make sure the moves works. I'm a person that never wants to give a person to say that the move worked and it doesn't work in reality.
Wow.
So
There was Brother Muhammad asked, are you no longer offering arms training? And I think you answered that you are still offering arms training, right?
Yes. I mean,
So,
just to give you just a brief overall, we start off with mindset development and we go into empty hand training, self-defense. From self-defense, we go into special weapons, which is Brother Salim's area of expertise. And from after special weapons, we go into firearms. We set it up that way so that we can get everybody specific training in each genre and get them confidence in this thing. Because here's the phenomenon that happened. The phenomenon that happened after all this chaos that jumped off these past few years was that everyone went out and bought a firearm. And the concept was, I got a firearm, so now I'm okay. And that's a fallacy. That's a fallacy. That's one of the biggest fallacies. Or, I have a knife and I have a knife, I'm okay. Or if someone does have a knife or a firearm, then I'm at a loss. When the bottom line, the truth of the matter is, if you are confident and have training and competence in your training, then you still are on the equal ground. You just you have to know how to deal with each situation as it comes to you. So we set these things up to make a holistic and develop a holistic warrior within each of us, right? Everybody we teach, our students, we're trying to bring out that warrior mindset as to be able to protect themselves, their families, their loved ones, and also as it flowers out or mushrooms out, to bring safety and security back to your communities. Because if there's 20 people like us in a community, it's less likely for that community to have crime and mayhem and chaos. You follow what I'm saying? So we establish it so that each person can go through these different genres, these different disciplines, and solidify within themselves. Like Brother Black here said, one of the things we made it a point to focus on is that we want to make sure that everyone that comes out of this program knows what they are doing. So from the basic level, you're going to get drilled, you're going to get repetition, you're going to get focused on the awareness piece, you're going to be challenged, right? So then when you come out, even on a basic level, you'll be able to maintain. Now you also have intermediate training and an advanced training. And in those two tiers, you go deeper into each of these different genres to be able to develop your skill set even better.
So that starts from the mindset all the way to, the physical aspect, with weapons, including firearms.
Exactly.
What is the advanced program? Like if someone wanted to know, hey, I'm trying to get to the advanced level, what would that look like?
The advanced level is more intense, all right, and it just gives you more time to work on everything that you started with in the intermediate or the beginning level. So you're just going to get an escalated transfusion of information, more focus, more intensity. Anybody else?
What I was going to say is they're learning these drills, and again, once you learn drills, the hardness of the drill has to go up. So we're doing one-on-ones. It might be time for you to move up to a 2-on-1, or to a 3-on-1, or to a 4-on-1. I'm placing you in a corner, and I got the attackers in zigzag formation so that you didn't know how to go and respond to these attacks. Also,
like if a child is being jumped, or being bullied, something like that, the teaching is where now it's this not just one-on-one, but now it's multiple, so that at advanced level, kind of like what we see in the martial arts film, where there's 10 guys against one, and you're like wondering how do they, they're able to do that. You're basically training people how to actually defend themselves in a situation where there's multiple attackers.
Because still statistically, if it's 2 attackers coming to attack someone, one person has to be the aggressor, the other person is going to be the one that probably robs. And then the way we've been turned, if I escape the person that's trying to attack me or sucker punch me and hit the person that was going to rob me by surprise, I have the chance to get away. Because now these 2 individuals are now arguing about how I missed the attempt to sucker punch him or stab him or whatever to make the robbery occur or the attack occur.
Wow. We have a question here with brother here. It says, can the edge method be applied to implements that an individual might find in his or her surroundings?
Yes, that's I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So the way that the training is that it's holistic, it becomes an integrated whole. So even though you learn the separate parts, as you go through the training, they're integrated. And by the time you come out of that funnel, you have different skill sets, but there's a connection between each one.
Mm-hmm.
So between the empty hands. So you're not going to be doing things that are different from what you did on the basic level. The basic level will give you what you need to be able to defend yourself. The advanced level is going to give you more scenarios. It's going to ramp up the intensity, because in a defensive situation, you have your blood pressure rises, your breathing quickens, your adrenaline is flowing, and you have to learn how to deal with all of that in a situation. And because what happens is three things that happen, right? You have these physiological responses. You have fight, flight, or freeze. And so you have to learn how to deal with those within the context of the training. And so that's where the intensity rises on each level, because you start off at a certain level. Person doesn't know. And as the intensity rises, he's able to physiologically adapt to the rise, to the rise in intensity. So
or even she.
Even
she, absolutely. So this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And with Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I don't know if the audience or even, our guests here remember the movie Enough. It was featuring Jennifer Lopez, where she had to fight in her own house. Being that you have home invasions, being that children are left alone, sometimes called latchkey kids because their parents are working and they're home alone. Do you do training where people are able to learn how to utilize their home, knowing the ins and outs of their home, to be able to escape, fight in the confounds of their home?
Yeah, I mean, we developed a program, and it's good. I'm glad you asked that question, because we developed a program in relationship to that particular thing. Most often, again, going back to mindset, people think that they're at a disadvantage in so many different situations, right? But in your home, you're at the most advantage, and most people don't think that.
I was going to say that too. Right, I didn't think you were.
Well, here's why. You know the lay of your house, how your house is laid out. You know where the hiding places are. You know where you can go. The person coming in doesn't know the layout of your home. So if you're trained and you're aware and your confidence is there, you can use your home to your advantage. So we train people in their specific environments. So we have a specific training that focuses on that particularly. So we go into the home, we assess what it is, what it looks like. Brother Bayer here does, a great assessment, and we try to map out the person's safe room, and like you were saying, safe word and things that you use in that situation. But then we train them in their home with using their specific reality, their work time, their travel time, how their area, their environment, right? So because that's what they're used to. So you're going to develop muscle and mind memory in that environment. So you will know when you go in your house what to do, what to look for, where your weapons are, where to place your weapons, what room you should go into. So we teach you in your environment. So when you go in, your home now becomes your weapon. Everything that we give people, our focus is that it's an extension. Like Brother Slim was just saying, and I know Brother Khalid has developed a training program, philosophy that deals with that, and I'll let him speak to that. As it relates to the mindset, empty hand, weapon, edge weapons or specialty weapons, and then fire. All of these things are interlocked. All of these things are one. So what you do with what you have in your mind, or how you configure your mind, is what you're going to do physically, right? And what you do in your empty hand is what you're going to do with your weapon. What you do with your weapon, you're going to do with your extended weapon. Everything is an extension of you. So your home now becomes an extension of you.
Wow.
The camelback on what he said as far as knowledge. We want the people who are training to understand what we call martial arts and law. Just because you're getting a skill set doesn't turn you into a renegade, doesn't turn you into someone who wants to now come outside and harm people that are outside your house. There's certain strategic measures on how you stand your ground. And we're going to get into martial arts and law, so people, even though they have these skill sets, don't find themselves in a bad situation or locked up because they were over exuberant in their way of defending themselves as far as doing self-defense. And we'll get into that.
If I may, Sister Asia, Sheikh Khalid, if you would, you had a good philosophy that we were talking about that we implement into the training as it relates to response. What we train our people to alleviate from their response time.
There is a condition in which every person has, and it's called OODA. OODA, which means observe, orient, decide, and act. There's four things that's the four mental processes the brain goes through when it's attacked or something happens to it that surprises them. You observe what's happened. Someone's coming in the house. Who's that coming in the house? Mm-hmm. That's the first thing the mind says. Orient. Then it says, oh, it's my husband, it's my wife, it's my child. Oh, wait a minute, it's a stranger. Who the heck is this? Decide. What am I going to do? Should I fix dinner? Should I go upstairs? Should I run to the basement? Should I get a knife? What am I going to do? And then action. That's when you react. The effective self-defense, you have to eliminate two of those options or two of those courses that the brain goes through. You have to eliminate orient and you have to eliminate decide. When attacked, you have to go from observed to action immediately. So what does that mean? It sounds hard, but it's easier than what you think. That means you have a plan. You have a plan of action. If I walk to the door and someone's on the outside of the door and they see me come in, or if I'm coming to the door, coming in the house, someone runs up behind me. What do I do? You've already come up with the possibility of being attacked while you're going into the house. Now you have to decide, what am I going to do? How am I going to react? What's my options? Once you go through your options of strategy, how to handle it, now you go from observe to action. You have to orient. You've already got a plan in your mind. You have to decide. You already have a plan in your mind. That cuts down the response time. You see it and you go.
Right.
So to successfully defend yourself in any situation, you have to have a plan of action that will assist you and will facilitate proper action in a situation. Now, so you might think you look crazy sometimes because you might walk down the street and someone's walking behind you. Now, your plan of action is, all right, there's two things you do. Do I keep walking and pretend like no one's there? Do I turn around and look and let him acknowledge that I see him or her? Or do I step aside, stop, and watch them walk by? Now you have a plan of action that you can decide on, but it's already in your head. Because if he does run up on you, now you can act quickly.
Now you know what to do.
Now you know what to do.
So it's almost like you have a blueprint. So right, most people don't know what to do, and that's where that, I guess, Brother Salim was saying that you have the third F, which is freeze. You would just freeze because you don't know what to do, which leaves you extremely vulnerable in that type of situation. Exactly. So it's almost like you're creating or assisting the students with having a blueprint in any given situation, whether they're, someone attacks with a weapon, if they're being attacked by multiple people, if someone is coming behind them, what to do, or they see someone come into their home and it's a stranger, you have almost like a blueprint, a plan of action of what to do in any given situation. This is awesome. Yeah. So I do have a question. I'm Muslim. I happen to be a Muslim woman. All of you are Muslim men that are teaching this particular training. There is this saying, and I do have to ask because a lot of my followers are Muslim women and husbands and so forth, even though my show is particular to the women population. There's a big thing that or a big let's say, I'm trying to find the right word. opposition. It's the opposition to, these are men training. I don't want my wife or my daughter training with men. They should have a female trainer. So I have a two-part question. What would be your answer to someone saying, look, you're Muslim men, these are Muslim women that are coming to your class, or these are women in general, what would you say to that? And then the second question is, do you plan on having women trainers and educators?
Well, I can speak to that, and then we have a running inside joke in our company. When you're out in the street, you're not going to tell somebody, hold on, I can only be attacked by a woman. Just not going to do that. So the reality of it is, in necessity, right? You do what you need to do in necessity. And in our belief system in Islam, you do what you have to do within a necessity. This is something that we're not doing for flirtation or anything like that. This is self-preservation, right? You're talking about reality, like Brother Barry here said. We are going to take the collar off of him and let him do it, because at the end of the day, when you look outside, reality, people, right? Reality. We're not looking at fantasy. We're not, fairy tailing this thing. People are being killed. There's no discrimination as it relates to who's doing the act, right? So you have to train. There's a training philosophy. You do what you train to do,
right?
Okay. So which is why we're all talking about, if you hear in our conversation, this repetition, this consistent development, this mindset. You train yourself to fight against whoever's in front of you, right? Men will overpower you. Do not get misunderstood. Ideally, we do want to have sisters, inshallah. One of our focuses is to train sisters to be able to train our program as one of our instructors. That's great. But even the sisters that go through the program are going to have to go through us. So, when you go through us, anyone else out there, you'll laugh at them. And I'm not being, I'm just being real. You will laugh at them. So we want the sisters, and we encourage sisters, families, if you're a brother who really feels that, you just can't get your head wrapped around that process, then come to the class with your spouse. So we want to, you know what I'm saying? So we want to, one of the things we want to do, Ukhti, and for the community, it doesn't matter who you are as it relates to, us in our community. We want to enable us to be safe, right? And in order to do that, we have to stop playing, making excuses, coming up with all these different, ways out of doing something, and get to doing what we need to do. If we're going to change the environment, then we have to change the environment by God's permission. And the only way we're going to do that is for us to put our families in situations where they're trained, they're safe, and they're confident. Right, exactly. And the only way you're going to do that is to train. You can't do it wishing for it to happen. You can't do it, well, I'll do it only if. And then, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
and then you're caught off guard.
And then you're caught off guard. Exactly.
A sister says, say that. So obviously there are sisters that are saying absolutely, they're in total agreement. I'm one of them. Right. When you're in the street, there's, they don't know Islam, that there's a separation. Whoever's going to attack you is going to attack you, and you need to be prepared for whatever comes your way. So I love the fact that is your mentality and your approach. Do you, being that you're headquartered? Sure.
Just when you said that, there was a time in the Muslim community, you would not even look at a sister in the wrong way. Now, the violence is at such a peak level now that we have non-Muslims are attacking sisters and stuff, unheard of.
And you have it, with all women. We're seeing children being attacked by adults. We see women being attacked by, strange men. I just heard a story the other day, 67-year-old woman in New York. A man attacked her, and people stood and watched as this man beat this 67-year-old woman, something unheard of in the past that would have came to her aid. So the fact that you teach the elderly also to be able to defend themselves, as you just mentioned, Brother Salim, that we're living in unprecedented times, and so we have to do, what they say, desperate situations require desperate measures.
And even if I may, Sister, just real quick, even as it relates to history, even in our history, in the time of our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and after that, women fought. Just be clear. We read history clearly, right? Women fought.
Yes.
Aisha radiallahu anha, she fought. She knew how to fight. You know, there were sisters who were precedented.
Oh
warriors.
yeah, we have warriors. Yeah, you
Right.
have Hawla,
Exactly.
you have Musaiba. So
Exactly.
we have warriors, and so we need to be able to. Yeah, I absolutely agree. One of the questions. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I was gonna say, so that we're clear, we want to bring this to all women, right? It's just not. We want to bring this to all women and all facets and walks of life in our community.
So regardless of religion, Muslim knowledge, right? So this is for women, this is for children, this is for elderly, this is for men, this is for everyone in the community that is looking to be able to put themselves in an advantage when being approached in a dangerous situation. So being that you're headquartered in Philadelphia, I know some of my followers that are watching here that are on the show, that they're saying this is excellent information. They're loving the information that's being had, but some of them don't live in the state of Pennsylvania. Do you travel?
We will. We normally the group would have to be big enough, obviously, for it to make sense.
So what would that look like? What would be the minimum to be able to say to travel?
Minimum is 16. So we want to keep it even, so everyone can work with and train with each other. Maximum is 20. So class of 20, class of 16. And we can sit down and talk about pricing and whatever. Because of travel, of course, it's going to be a little bit more. But again, and I got to say this to our community, you have to pay for quality, right? We will work with everyone to try to make it palatable. But people, we got to pay for what's necessary, right? And everyone else, all other ethnic groups and communities around us are paying for what's necessary. And our people are living in the depths of chaos and
mayhem.
Not paying attention, so we gotta, so we'll travel.
So I have one last question that I would like to ask, because I think this is so vital to what you're saying. Some people may not know if they fall in or if they would be an ideal client. So if you had a list, just to give a list of some of the different entities or companies or communities that would be ideal for you to work with, what would that be? So would that be after school programs? What would that look like?
Community programs, women, battered women or women at risk programs, communities in general. We can go into a community if we had a group of people in that community and train that community, that block, that area, whatever it is.
Places of worship?
Places of worship, definitely. Because of course we saw, in the past, all of the different things that were going on with the violence people don't have respect for places of worship anymore. So, that was another reason why this company was formulated, because we saw the necessity and the need to provide protection. You don't even have the sanctity of the places that you worship anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. We have shootings now in front of that. So if someone were interested, so we mentioned community centers, domestic violence shelters, youth programs, youth organizers, places of worship, people that want to have it in their own home. If there's any women organizations out there that you can come up with a minimum of 16, maximum of 20, those would be good entities, or just families saying, look, let's get together with a minimum of 16, you would be willing to work with them. If someone were interested in getting in contact with you to say, look, we want to take your programs, we want you to do like a presentation at our community center or domestic violence shelter, or just families, where would they be able to find you? How would they be able to contact you?
Directly, they can contact me via my business phone number.
It's right here. If you see on the banner, the number is right there. So if I could just say it real quick, or Brother Zubair, if you could just say it real quick, what is the number that they can reach you at?
267-918-6278. We are currently in development of our website, and we do come out and do free info sessions to community organizations, places of worship, doesn't matter.
So again, that number is 267-918-6278. There will be a replay of this on my page. So if you didn't get the phone number and you watch the replay, the number is on the banner that's going across on the bottom of the presentation, as well as we are live on as well on YouTube. So if you go on my YouTube page under Asiya Nasir Shahid, you'll be able to see the phone number here as well. So if you want to get in contact with Ronin Equinimity LLC for any of the things that we just mentioned, again, the number is 267-918-6278, and they would ask for who?
You can ask for me, Zubair Abdul Shahid, and I'll deal with whatever issue or whatever questions they may have.
Great. So in closing, what I would like to ask is for each of you to give a final thought, something that you want to share with the community as it relates to defense, the conversation that we had, just a message that you want to get out to men, women, children, communities at large. I will start with Brother Jamal, because Brother Jamal has been extremely quiet.
I was about to say that we need to hear from our expert, Brother Jamal.
Yes,
if I may, Brother Jamal is one of our top trainers here, and he's a part of the development core of the group as it relates to self-defense, empty hand self-defense, along with my uncle. And he's a valuable part of the program, and a well of knowledge as it relates to martial arts and self-defense.
I always say you got to be careful of those quiet ones. Those quiet ones are like powerhouses. Yes. So we'll start with you, Brother Jamal, if you had a final thought that you want to share with everyone in closing, and then we'll just go kind of like down the line, just a final thought that you want to share with the community.
Yes. It wasn't a need for me to say much because everyone was saying exactly what needed to be said. I think it's a real important need that people should really think about taking this course. It's really needed within the community at large. We have, like I said, a host of great instructors to bring a lot of knowledge to the community. My expertise is based in self-defense, as I said again, and I think this is a main course mostly for women, as well as children. But again, this is for everyone. Please take part, get in contact with Ronin Equinimity, and do your part. I mean, come on out, train, take this course. It's very important.
Thank you. Brother Khalid.
Bismillah. Yeah, to add on to what Sifu Jamal has said, it is important for everyone to realize they must take their safety into their own responsibility and into their own hands. Now we know as Muslims that our dependence and our reliance is on Allah. Our taqwa is with Allah. And we know that. But as I said, we have to do our part. We have to maintain the ability to protect our families, to protect ourselves, to protect our communities. Starts with family and grows out. So with this opportunity for us to be of service to the communities, alhamdulillah, it's a mercy of Allah that bestowed this on us and that Zubair brought together to facilitate a service that will help people in a most dire time. And,
absolutely.
And everyone, we are in dire times. So you must react appropriately and be prepared, because you never know what's going to happen. The cuddles with Allah will protect us, or He won't, depending. But we have to pray for that, make dua, but we have to prepare.
Absolutely. So we have to do our part. Absolutely. So, Brother Bahir.
Yes, ma'am. I just want to say to everyone, don't think that you don't need it. Don't think that it's not going to happen in your neighborhood if you're in a good neighborhood, or if you're in a bad neighborhood, you don't think your house could ever be, or you could be attacked or your house be invaded. Good saying that always say, stay alert, stay alive. And we want to try to keep us all alive as long as we can and please Allah as much as we can. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brother Bahir. Brother Salim.
Assalamu alaikum. You have a personal responsibility to protect yourself, and your next responsibility is your family, and your next responsibility is your community. People do not have a right to put their hands on you, but you see that today. So what I want to leave you with is your home. There's a proliferation of break-ins and things like that. So just take note of where you are in your house, the things in your home. Turn out the light, get to know your house in the dark. If somebody comes crashing through your door, you should have the advantage, not the other person. And so you have to keep these things in mind as we go forward, that you have a personal responsibility to protect yourself and your family. And just remember, we trust in Allah, but we tie a camel.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Last but not least, we have Brother Zubair.
Like I said in the beginning, this company was developed and was born out of necessity for everything that's been going on around us. For all of us here, we grew up in a time where this was none. I don't think any of us thought that we would be living in a time with this much chaos and this much, disrespect and disconnect as it relates to interaction with people and respecting the people's a person. One of the reasons why I tried to focus on developing this is because I was tired, and I know those with me were tired of hearing, all of the complaints and things going on. We are the face of change, and it is time for men to stand up. The other reason why I picked these formidable gentlemen here is because, we were raised as men, and as men and as martial artists and as warriors within ourselves, we cannot sit by and watch our communities just go into purgatory. Our women, our children, our elderly, just be taken advantage of as, the criminal element just takes over. It would be a sin for us to have this much talent and not help our people. And when I say our people, I'm talking about everybody that was created by God, right? So, as Muslims, as believers, and as people who are trying to do what is right, our job is to, help everyone. And that's what we're here to do. And that is the essence of Ronin Equinimity.
Absolutely. We've been getting a lot of comments. Wonderful. Your final thoughts are so eloquently said. A lot of people are leaving comments. So I'm just going to read it to you in case you can't see it.
Yeah.
She was, when I mentioned the comment, Brother Jamal being so quiet, she said, I was just thinking that, sis, too quiet riot. She said, Allah, she said, this show was truly on point. Thank you. Jazakallah khair, y'all. And Brother Ibrahim said, thank you for this information. Wishing you all safety and success. And she said, another Sister Seisha mentioned again, I love that. Get to know your house in the dark. So your words are resonating with the community. Anyone who's watching, if you missed it, if you're interested in having training and learning more about how you can participate, whether in Philadelphia or outside of Philadelphia, please feel free to contact Brother Zubair at 267-918.
6278.
There we go. 6278. And last but not least, we have Rabia. She said, Alhamdulillah. She said, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you all success in this life and in the next. So that's his sister. Someone wanted to say something?
Yeah, just to give some more information. We are going to be developing, or we are developing as we speak, video shorts, which will introduce the community to some of the different techniques that we've been talking about. And then that's going to morph into a vlog. So every 2 weeks we'll come out with a show, almost like yours, not as good as yours, but almost like yours, right? To show, applying these different techniques real time. So look out for that. And I guess we can, we'll piggyback off of, your show, Sister Asia, and others like it. So we can, use that as a funnel to, shoot our information out there, and people can see these things real time and see why it is necessary for them to get involved with what we're doing, so they can protect their families.
Absolutely.
That means, sister, that you'll have to come on the show and demonstrate some techniques once you learn them.
I'm cool with that. I want to learn. I definitely do, and I have our organization. So me and Brother Zubair have actually been talking about not wanting to talk too much. But I do run a organization called Jessica Cares, which is for the empowerment of women and young girls. So definitely looking to bring that into 2022. So that is something that we're looking for. So now I know the minimum number is 16. So I got to get at least 16. And this is something that is definitely needed. Brothers, I want to thank you so much for joining me this evening and taking time out of your schedule to share this information with the community. It's time. We've seen too much horrific things happening. And, there's a very famous quote that we all hear, and it has become cliche, but we're living in those times, and we need to be we need to be the change that we want to see in the world.
Yes.
So it's that time. We are living in that time where we can no longer wait for someone to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. And the next generation that is watching the adults doing it, they will be built with that mentality, the confidence that they need, and then just continue with that until we are returned back. So brothers, thank you so much once again for being on the show. For those that are watching, thank you again. For the audience, you were great. Your comments were wonderful and well received. Stay tuned. In 2 weeks, we have another great episode with a very good friend of mine. She has a wonderful program that she's doing for married couples and for young adults. She is called the Halal Sexpert. So if you want to learn more about that, her name is Shakira Abdullah. I'm looking forward to that show on November 8th. So stay tuned for more information on that, and stay tuned for more information. I will be posting it up on Ronin Equinimity as they put their website live. I'll be sharing that information with all of you. So for everyone watching, thank you once again. Subscribe to our YouTube channel under Asia Nasir Shahid. Hit the notification bell so that way you will be notified of all of the great conversations that we'll be having coming up, the ending of this year as well as 2022, and all of the great conversations that we had previously. So make sure you check out our page and subscribe. And good night, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.